Welcome to Machine Actor.
In the last episode, we learned that friendship is the oldest technology we have. But technology is only the backdrop in this story. People are the real storyline. People want to feel in control. When something moves too fast, our instinct is to slow it down. That's where the friction begins. Welcome to episode 3. Friction.
Circuitry in the soul. Initialize the vision.
Hi, yes. I'm really glad to be here again. We were talking a lot of positive things last time, friend, of course. But this time we are going to a hard topic. We're about to start to talk about frictions that we could find on our daily basis, for years. And let me start with this. The first question that I want to put in the table is, who's the enemy? Is there a person? Is technology itself? Is myself? Let me start with this. One of the big changes that we have seen as millennials, but we didn't feel it, was the transition between analog technology to digital technology, right? And you live that one, and I live that one. For those new kids with tablets, there's a whole world that they are going to never understand, of CDs, cassettes, messenger chats, and a lot of things that happened before. Even going to play some football out there, they are not going to know what that feels. Right now, this is the analogy that I have. We are on a special set of years that we are feeling the same feelings that our parents have when the personal computer arrives to their homes, the first time that they need to pay for an internet subscriptions because we were pushing for it as, no, my friend is playing online, so please, Dad, put a internet connection in our home. I want to play. So all those frictions, all that thing, all those train of thoughts that happen when that digitalization started to happen is happening now again. It's like, I don't know if you have some personal stories that you want to share about how it was in your home, but I do believe that we are not like our parents, and it's not going to be, it's like, for me at least, one week I have a good week where I'm friend of technology, and then I have a really bad week where I'm fighting against humans not adopting technology, and then I fight in the technology itself because there's a new release. So what do you think about this? Who's the enemy? Yes.
We touched on this in the last episode, that we said that the expectations that we have on ourselves and the expectations that we have on the technology, that's where the friction's going to come from. I haven't been on social media since 2014. I came off all the social networks. I disabled all the accounts, deleted everything. The only social network I kept was LinkedIn because obviously I needed it, working in this industry as a IT consultant. But everything else, I just got rid of it, man. I just came away from it. I just didn't feel the need to have that lens into my life, to have that validation point. It just wasn't me, and it just wasn't for me. I don't know if you know, but a couple of weeks ago, me and this guy from Mexico, we started a podcast.
I have heard about it.
You might have seen one or two things on social media.
Yeah, on all social media accounts. By the way, you can hear some where they can hear, so that way we can do a small commercial here.
Oh, right.
Okay. That you are back in social media.
Well, we're on this thing called Instagram and TikTok and Substack and Reddit and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Podcasts. I mean, we're all over the place now, mate. But this is it. So I've had to go and create the accounts and set everything up and kind of get myself back into social media. I'm realizing that you can't do certain things on your desktop, right? Because I'm come from a time when I was on Facebook. I would go on facebook.com and I would log in and post images on my desktop computer. I'm trying to do that on Instagram and TikTok. I can't. I have to download the apps on my phone. So it's already experiencing the friction on my side, just going back on social media just to do the marketing for the podcast. So I have got first-hand experience of being the old guy in the room now that's trying to do the social media, who hasn't been doing it for so long. Now, am I enjoying doing this? Do I want to do this? Is this something that I would like to see other people doing? I've always seen the value of social media. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't live under a rock, you know, like I am part of the real
Right.
world. I appreciate it. I know what it's good for. I know what it isn't good for. You know, earned media is massive, right? It's something that we always talk about when we talk about global content strategy and campaign management. But, you know, for me on a personal level, it's not something that I want to be a part of, but I'm now having to learn how to post online again and post on social media. I guess the only good thing is it's not me. It's generated content that we're putting out there.
Yeah. We were actually experiencing this across the week when we were posting everything. I was in a call with us doing all these things, and one of the I mentioned it a couple of times actually. It's like now we can feel what our stakeholders feel each time that they're using the tools that we put out there. Because the moment that you are also the user, you can find the friction. Is this tool easy to use? It's easy to communicate with machines. It's easy to get the outcome. How many steps do I need to take? All those are frictions when you are using any given technology or tool that could happen or not. Maybe the definition of it was thought truly, and they were trying to consider all the use cases that were possible, but at the end of the day, we don't know what users are going to do. And on my experience, every time that you design a product, the outcome that you put on the roadmap, the definition, the paper is not going to be exactly what it going to came true. Once users have it in their hands, they are going to find new edge cases, things that they have never told you, like that could happen, right? And if it's the first time that you're creating a product, one thing that everyone needs to know is like, hey, this is a beta testing of the first draft that I have on my platform, and it's going to be with a lot of friction. You know, it's going to have a lot of things that please be patient. It's like we are on the business of creating products, and products are not perfect. It's like humans. We are not perfect, but we are trying to put machines like on a state of perfection, and that's not the reality. The reality is that things have friction in it. What do you think there?
Things do have friction, man. And that's it, isn't it? That's the point of this episode. Because, you know, friction comes from wanting to have control, wanting to slow down, wanting to be in a position where you can control the narrative, you can control the output. We had a huge experience of friction recently in the world of AI when Fable got switched off. You remember that with the US government? So the US government stepped in and basically said to Anthropic, you can't put your latest model out there because for whatever reason, it was a security issue or a matter of national security, or there was some reason posted online, something to kind of like force Anthropic's hand, and so that they would have to kind of take it off the shelf. You know, that kind of makes you wonder, well, how much more technology is out there or being used, which could also fall into the same concern or the same matter. You know, here in the UK, a lot of our government websites, online portals for, you know, various things, whether it's your tax returns or even like the online crime reporting platform, Single Online Home, which I actually helped build, is behind US CDNs. Now, I'm not going to get too technical and explain what CDN is here, but just take my word for it. It's a piece of technology that a lot of websites use in order to make the website more faster, more secure, more resilient. But what if Uncle Donald decided tomorrow to ring up Cloudflare and say, hey, you have to disable the web application firewall rules across all your customers because it's a matter of national security? What are we going to do then, right, as users? There's a lot of talk about sovereign models, sovereign software right now because of what's happened with Fable. Like, how is a entity, an organization, a government, a company that isn't in those US boundaries or frameworks supposed to work with that? You're immediately creating friction in your technology before you've even released a product and got something out the door.
And I don't know if this was the right like series of events that happened, but in between that, DeepSeek in China releases an equivalence model that was able to do something similar to Fable, and then 2 days later we have Fable back on our machines. So it's like you have, in one way you have national security, and in the other way you need to compete. And that's one. I'm going to use that example to say that this about competition. One of the frictions that I have observed the most over the past year is related to the amount of time that you need to spend in order to acquire the necessary knowledge to know how AI works and then put it to work. It's like to go into to direct execution after you get the knowledge. And what I realize is this. There's a moment where you start looking for how to do your work, and then you start seeing that your other co-worker is getting there first than you, and you start to getting all these negative like sentiments around it. I'm not enough. This person is going to shine again. Just when I thought that I was doing my work the right way. So similar to that is happening to us on a personal life. The companies are doing the same with this example that you just give us. Like, it's happening to everyone. Each one of us has a story about how they are putting some resistance into making changes, but at the same time, they know that they need to do these changes. And just to close on this note about getting first than anyone else, this is just an analogy that it happened to be part of our breakfast today. I don't know if you remember when you started to talk the first time or when you started to walk, but I can assure you that you were not the first kid that started to talk in school, to start to write, to start to do math. So if you don't remember that, you are not going to be always the first person in the room to get to accomplish something, but because in your life, you already went through this. You were not the first person to do something in your life but with time, with effort, with discipline, you did some mastership around it, right? So that's basically the bright side on that resistance. What makes you resist this? What do you think is the main resistance that you have right now? Personal level, yes.
Oh, well.
Are you resisting the technology shift?
I can tell you right now that there seems to be a tipping point on the effectiveness of this technology. Once you start getting into stress testing it and you actually start pushing it, you get to see that there's actually gaps in its capabilities. There's gaps in how far it can go. I mean, I can just give you a really noddy example.
Yeah.
Have you ever used AI to like generate images or, like changed images? Even things like if you like take a picture of like somebody's living room or bedroom, not somebody's, hopefully your own, or a house you might be looking to buy, right? Or just doing some kind of interior design work. You might like throw an image at it and say, hey, this is a picture of somebody's hallway. I want you to add a stair runner. I want you to change the banister. I want you to make it look better. I want to try and test out like a different material on the wall, different flooring, etc., etc. And it'll give you like a couple of outputs. It'll give you a couple of results. The interior design part of, say, ChatGPT is probably trained on lots of models of lots of different houses and lots of different interior design pictures, etc., etc. It probably just goes to Pinterest and just downloads a bunch of images or something, right? But the first couple of images it'll output aren't probably going to be very good. And then like it'll get to a point where the next like half a dozen images will be really good after that. You can say to it like, oh, I want a picture of a lotus on the wall or a picture of a Ganesh on the wall, or, I want like a different type of doorway, or I want even a different handle on the doors. Like it'll do some really cool stuff. And then there's like the next sort of few images are just terrible. It'll like start putting furniture in front of doorways, like it'll put a different dimension into the room, like it'll change the layout and everything. And it's almost like the more context sometimes you give it, or the more information you give it, or the more rounds it has, the worse it gets. And so there's like tipping points in it. You see it, right, when you're generating any type of content, or when you're running something under agency. And I think that's like the main resistance or friction, if you will, to moving to autonomous agentic operations, Because right now, you're able to kick something off under agency and it'll run under your Steam. You're giving it an instruction to do something. Like if you're trying to write code, for example, they're calling it loop engineering now, where you basically have like a whole DevSecOps cycle of product design, architecture design, code implementation, quality assurance, release quality. And these are all like checkpoints in the development process that agents will go through when they're outputting some kind of work for you. But before you kind of move to true autonomous AI, you kind of like need to figure out the point at which it starts to fail. And that's, I think, creating the friction at the moment, because obviously the technology is just not quite there yet. And just to close this topic, mate, there's a recent lawsuit, I don't know if you saw, from, well, it's not recent, but the whole Apple and OpenAI lawsuit.
Yeah.
If I don't know how much, obviously, we could talk about this.
The hardware lawsuit, yeah.
Yeah. This is the competitiveness thing that we just talked about, is there's competition, obviously, in the AI markets between all the sort of model builders, model providers, et cetera, et cetera. So from what I'm kind of experiencing of AI is, even with just a little bit of gentle pushing, you are starting to see the cracks and where it can no longer sort of perform. How about yourself, man? What are you seeing?
This is, I would share over the past week when we were preparing to this episode, I was putting my ears up, like asking people about resistances that they are finding. I'm going to talk about soft skills, which I do believe that sometimes has, people doing technology, creating technology, defining technology. We don't talk about it that much, but soft skills is one of those heavy things that is making a change here. This is a funny note. It's like, goes like this. My girlfriend, she works for one of the big manufacturers of the auto industry out there in the world, as a product designer. And she told me the other day, hey, could you believe that someone in a meeting told me that I don't have enough skills to solve this AI problem? And I was like, wait a second. Could you explain me a little bit more about it? Yeah. They were showing me how to build new things. And I'm going to talk about image generation here. They were telling me how to configure my tools, how to put together my GitHub Copilot team, and how I can start creating wireframes, or how can I start communicating with my other software tools. And then suddenly I told them back, well, it's not there yet because I cannot see the same result that I'm having by doing this process manually right now. So this is the expected outcome that I want to have. Oh, yeah, you don't have enough skills there, so that's why you are getting that outcome. And then is when it hit me. Skills in the AI thing is referred to a set of technology, so it's kind of a configuration step that you need to take into putting your agent to work. And a skill in the AI lingo is a piece of code that you kind of put some, how can I say this? And if you have a better analogy than me, please jump into it. But basically, a skill is a set of instructions that you can share with everyone that are going to do always the same thing. So that way, instead of creating new instructions, everyone knows how to build it from scratch. And a skill could be, this is how all the buttons are going to light. This is how the button looks when it's turned off, turn on, when the mouse is over. So you and everyone else in the company should use this skill called buttons. Oh, that's why my boss was telling me about. And then she started to think about, it's a personal attack over me. It's a friction. No.
Oh, man.
So that happened. And that happened also to me this week. Like, some person were having a conversation about it. Suddenly the topic came, they don't have enough skills on their setup. And the person needed some... Yeah. It was like, could you believe that one of the biggest frictions that we have is related to soft skills? And we have a conversation like this over the week, as when I was telling you the definition that we have for these special keywords. We are telling into a software layer, this is how the definition of engagement should be defined. And then I told you back, no, but that's the definition of engagement that you have for that platform. In this platform, is different. So depending on the technology that you are using, the keyword could mean a different thing. And also, when someone is sharing you their vision of how you can do later an execution on technology, the vision, if you don't have the right knowledge of what each one of the concepts means, you're going to do a really bad work. So one of the most recent frictions that I have found is we need to stop resisting us into learning how to speak Spanish, English, or whatever language you're speaking at work today, because you need to learn this new vocabulary around the context, so next time you don't confuse about what a skill is. That's something that I have.
Yeah, man. I mean, so there's a couple of things there to unpack, right? So the first thing is, obviously, within your girlfriend's organization, somebody hasn't communicated the new nomenclature of AI, right? Which is the meaning of a steal, and you explained it very well, mate. A steal is basically a predefined instruction that you save in what we call a markdown file, and you can basically give it to different AIs, and they'll use that steal in order to repeat exercises and tasks. So it's very much like, prescriptive instructions of, imagine you were telling an AI how to make a cup of tea. You would put that in the steal file, and you would basically tell it, you need a kettle, you need some water to boil, you need electricity, you need to heat the water up, put the water in a cup, put the tea bag in, let it stew, and then optionally add a bit of milk and sugar or whatever the customer's looking for. And that way, every time you need to make a cup of tea, you just run the same steal again, and the AI kind of knows what to do. And that can be used across different models as well. So somebody telling your girlfriend she doesn't have enough skills is a terrible thing, because that is the AI performance management or AI knowledge management culture within her organization that obviously needs to have some improvements there. And it's not just in your girlfriend's organization either, mate. We're having the same issue in the one that obviously we work in as well. So actually, definition of terms is super important in any organization and in any community of actors. In software architecture, it's massive. Is if you're not working off the same definitions, then two people can have completely two separate meanings of the same thing. You said it yourself there, right? The term of engagement, or the meaning of engagement, even in an experience platform or a marketing platform, can have two separate meanings depending on the platform provider. Engagement on a website is something different to engagement on a social media channel. But then engagement on a Drupal website or a different platform website might have a different meaning to a meaning on, for example, some kind of software that's used for doing A/B testing on a website. So like, even like the same kind of area of business, the same category of the business operations, it can still have different meanings. And that's getting even worse now with AI, because everybody's using the terms differently. And we're obviously repurposing human actor terms as much as we can, like the word skill. This whole culture thing is massive, right? I was talking to some folks in our organization about it this week, actually. And the push is still obviously that everybody needs to be using AI and working with AI. The conversation I was having is, actually, what's an effective use of AI? How are you effectively using AI? Let's just assume a situation where if you're not using AI, you're going to get sacked. So what are you going to start doing? You're going to start using AI. Now let's look at a kind of situation where, well, if you can't sack somebody because they're not using AI, then what's the way to sack them? Is it how they're using AI? So, let's take a software developer, for example. If they're using AI to write code, is that acceptable? If they're using AI to design a piece of functionality or feature, is that acceptable? If they're using AI to test something, is that acceptable? If they're using AI to actually kind of figure out how some kind of computer system or platform or system that they're trying to integrate with works, is that acceptable? There's like different levels of acceptability here, isn't there? And people are going to use the AI in sort of different ways, and people are going to have the effectiveness in different ways. Now, how this relates to friction is quite important, to be honest, because if you don't, as a collective, work and operate in the same way, using the same terminology, the same structures, the same understanding, then you'll have different actors within your organization all doing kind of different things. And all that's going to do is just create a mess. and nobody's actually going to be able to move forward. You're just going to have a massive token bill, and you're going to be thinking, well, why are my competitors moving further ahead than I am? And I'd like to come back to this topic, actually, because I was talking to somebody this week who gave me some incredible mentorship on how to actually operate in these kind of big organizations. And I'd like to kind of share it with everyone. It's really important. But, just to close this topic, culture is the most important thing, I think, with AI, is putting the culture in place properly in the workplace in order to really understand how it works. And I think that's how you won't create the friction and resistance. People still going to want to have control over things, but if you don't all sing from the same hymn sheet, there's going to be issues in how you kind of approach and adapt to the whole AI thing.
No, totally agree. And that led me to, and I want to hear about that mentorship that you recently have. That led me to jump to the next topic too, which is which part cannot be upgraded. Because on one side we have all this like contextual culture thing going to produce friction. And I do believe that we have something that is really special here. We went from everyone knows in the table what we are talking about. There was some industry standards from the last couple of decades that everyone was following. And now it's a special moment where we need to build from scratch some things again. And we are not used to work like that. Because usually you have a really well-defined role, and suddenly that no one can tell you how your role is going to evolve, right? That doesn't mean that everything needs to be upgraded. It just means that changes are coming. You might not have the whole set of information, but still, what cannot be upgraded? And this is something that if you don't have it before, on my perspective, let's figure out how you can get it. But have this. I don't know if this happens also in Manchester, as you can tell me, but here in Mexico, when we are preparing to be engineers, they basically teach us a lot of how to build things and a lot of technical terminology, but at least in the school that I study, they never tell me how to communicate the technical part of it. And that's one of the magic parts of being a product manager, is to be able to hear a vision, translate it into execution, and someone else will do the execution, but at least you were able to communicate. And then going back, this technical thing, this happens on the execution, so you need to translate it to the business as part of the vision. So that part, communicating, that's something that cannot be upgraded. Your communication skills is something that you need to grow. It's like, not because AI is here or machines are here, that doesn't mean that you don't need to improve your communication skills. Even speaking different languages, even speaking better, know the terminology is something that is on an ongoing process of upgrading. If you're not doing it, now is a good chance. It's a really good opportunity to start doing it.
Well, the reason that you've been successful in that way, and the reason why you've been able to grow and that you actually appreciate your role as a product manager, is because you developed great empathy, which doesn't come naturally to some people. It also doesn't come naturally to some job roles that we operate in. So, traditionally speaking, an engineer is somebody that obviously puts machinery together or industrializes some kind of role or function within a company or a business, or it's somebody that builds key infrastructure, bridges, buildings, people that build airplanes, power stations, design cars, software engineers. It's a very scientific, very mechanically led role. And empathy isn't as necessary when you effectively bolt in two components together to make something. However, in the product world, and when you're building software, it's key. Now, empathy is really where people will differentiate themselves, especially in our industry. And when we can talk about life sciences and patient empathy, or we can talk about empathy in the machine here, as in empathy in AI. I had a recent experience this year, as you know, where I was on vacation in a part of the world that suffered a lot of aerial bombardment. And as a result of that, I was stranded on holiday. And it doesn't sound very fun, because it wasn't. I mean, it was horrifying. It was terrible.
We were really worried about your friend. We're going to see him again.
I literally was hoping to be gone for a week. I was gone for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But when you're trapped in a country and you can't escape, there's no way out. You're not getting any assistance or help from your government. You're trying to contact your travel agent. You're going through the live chat system and you're trying to get through to someone, a human actor, to help you. And their entire AI-driven live chat, their triaging process is kind of set up to just kick you out. And you're under active aerial and bombardment. It is absolutely terrible. Like, genuinely, there should be a button for people that they can click, which is, I really need help. Like, this is really dangerous. And I need to talk to a person. But these computer systems, these AI systems, aren't necessarily built with empathy at its heart. And it's like insurance systems, isn't it? It's like when you put an insurance claim into an insurance system, the whole system's designed to kick you out. It's designed to reject your claim. And I think a lot of companies are using this as an excuse to just do that. When they're putting in these live chat systems, these customer experience systems, where they're offloading the human-to-human interaction to a human-to-machine interaction, the rules that they're putting in place are basically designed to just like get you off or to basically not even have to deal with you, which is fine in certain situations. But, you know, for me earlier this year, I really could have done with speaking to a human for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And that's when you were exposed to the worst scenario where the technology was not there. Even when we went through a whole pandemic, it's like, allegedly we should learn the lesson by now. I don't know. It's not happening. I was listening to another podcast, and I told you about this over the week. It's called Lenny's Podcast, one of the best communicators around product management that is out there. And they did this survey, which could be considered one of the big surveys around how people is feeling about technology. There's a lot of good insights on that episode from Lenny's, but one of those is, and to put it in this conversation, is people expecting the future to be more like optimistic. And it was like, when you tell me cases like yours, if everyone else is automating things, IKEA did a great effort automating everything on customer support, and they didn't fire the people. They use it to grow sales. That's a really case to have. Are we analyzing the previous system that we had before to offer a better human experience to people? There are some critical systems like the one that you mentioned that is, well, it's not happening. And another, so this is one of the things that right on that survey was, of course, it was in the US, so we have a partial view of it. But one of the other things was, this is the first time that people is saying that they have more burnout than an optimistic view of the future. And it was by job position then. And they were like, the founders, they have a really good optimistic view about the future. The workers making the products, they have a really bad view about seeing to the future, right? So that tells you something. And from there, this is the part where I wanted to be. One of the positions that said, no, the future is, would you recommend someone to do the work that you're doing right now if they are just starting their work life? For example, for designers, for product designers, UX designers, everything that has to do with design, the answer was no, don't do this. Don't start in this job position. And that same podcast, 2 episodes before, they have the lead of codex development, and that person was saying, and these are 2 insights that I have. That person was saying, if I have an LLM and I can put together a machine that can do a lot of things, but my competitor, they have maybe the similar LLM, same capabilities, same everything. What's the difference there? And the conclusion of this person was, well, I don't want to say design, I want to say taste. If you have the right feeling about how the human experience should be, you have the right design there. So that's your main core difference for users, for people getting your product. For in case of your story, if you have a better travel chat agency that wasn't not the AI. They kept thinking about edge cases like this, worse things could happen. So let's always keep a human in the loop. That's having taste, if you want to put it on the words of this person from Codex.
The thing that IKEA did was amazing.
Yeah.
What they were actually able to do. They were able to repurpose all of their customer service support agents and actually put them into, I want to call it a forward deploy engineer, but I don't know if I should say that. So they all of their customer service agents, and they basically said, we're going to replace you with AI. Effectively, I'm kind of, summarizing here. But they effectively said, look, we're going to replace you all with AI, and we're going to retrain 8,500 employees in effectively selling to customers. And that actually unlocked $1.4 billion in revenue, I think.
Yeah.
So not only did they get the savings from using AI, I mean, I don't know what the AI bill is, but they got the savings on that standpoint. But then they repurposed, this massive workforce. 8,500 people isn't something small. That's massive. And they actually got them to generate $1.4 billion of additional revenue for IKEA. I mean, if you were talking about AI transformation and a human actor to machine actor success story, I think that's a huge story for other companies to use as a baseline.
Yeah, and let me know what you think about this. So, because I tell you from that survey, founders were saying we are really optimistic about the future. But on the other side, we have VCs, which is venture capitalism, which is this part that gives you money, give money to your company so you can keep building and create the next Uber or the next Amazon or the next SpaceX, you name it. The VCs are putting a new layer of due diligence in order to see if they are going to put money in your company. And they hire a couple of engineers just to work around this concept. Could you please analyze all the information that we have from this future investment? And in 2 weeks, is there a possibility for you to buy code, which means replicate the value proposition of this company? So we want to see if it's a real pure player with a unique idea, or anyone in the world with just having a license for Codex, Cloud Code, GitHub Copilot can just go there, replace this company in a couple of seconds, and all the value will go away. And on that perspective is that the people doing actually the technology is telling you, yes, you as a founder, you are really optimistic about the future, but you are the one that needs to be more worried about finding real value on the things that you are doing. And on the other hand, the designer is worried because he's going to lose his job. And it's no, you are a key piece of everything working here. It's like there's no buy code experience that could duplicate a really good design. And everyone is telling that right now. Like all the AI generated platform looks the same. There is no extra value on seeing the same. I cannot differentiate between one platform and the other. So there is still a need of creativity. Someone needs to put there the human touch so humans can use that product, right? That digital product, at least.
I mean, founders are a completely different type of person anyway. I mean, have you ever met a miserable founder? Even when they're miserable, they're happy. They're the most optimistic people you'll ever meet. I mean, literally, it could be raining outside and they'll say the weather's amazing. It's like, yeah. It's almost like, the clouds themselves are the VC backing them. Like they literally they're such happy people, so optimistic about everything. It would hurt my face to be literally that content and happy all the time.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, you're right, man. They need to be scared because, I think we've probably read the same thing then, that VCs are basically going out to sort of these meetings where founders will pitch them and then they'll come back and then they'll basically just have some like junior in the office and they'll give him like $500 in Claude tokens and say, build this. And if he can build it, then the guy doesn't get the money. They're not going to invest in that company because somebody can reproduce it so quickly. And that's the power of AI now, is like everybody can be a founder. I mean, if you think about it, going back, people that wanted investment to set up these tech companies and tech startups were literally doing it in garages, bedrooms. They were doing it in house shares with their mates. and they'd write a pitch deck, they'd set up a website, they'd put some social media out there, and a few of them would do it. It would all be done by hand, of course, as in everything we'd done manually, but they could basically give the impression or the presence of being quite a big company or having quite a lot more to offer than actually what was there. But it still, quite often took a few people to do that. Now you can have somebody literally write a pitch deck, a website, social media, pretty much everything, including an AI-generated introduction video. I mean, you can do a whole Y Combinator application probably in about 60 minutes using something like Claude. And so if you're working 8 hours a day and you're working 5 days a week, you could have 40 pitches out to YC in a week.
Yeah.
Literally. And everybody's going to be probably doing this now. I mean, I don't really follow or know what's going on right now in terms of, where things are on the tech startups, but I'm assuming that a lot of these kind of like product websites or kind of like automation site almost like the value that people were giving in the startups were they were finding things to offer that were already out there, but it just wasn't mass market. So, or they were trying to like going in and competing with stuff that had already been there a long time, like Airbnb and Uber and places like that. But I'm guessing now there's a lot of tech startups, a lot of startups going out there that aren't going to be the $1 billion unicorns, but there might be like the $10 million idea or the $50 million idea. Because that might just be the sweet spot where you can kind of do it with something like Claude and like maybe a couple of friends. And that's kind of probably enough. But I don't really know how much seed money or what that kind of takes to get set up. And if the VCs are still going to, invest in that kind of thing and still get the return that they've always been wanting.
Yeah, which led me to the next topic that we have today, which is like kind of what are we protecting for real? Like when we are the ones generating the friction, why are we creating that friction, right? Because we sometimes, and it happened just a couple of weeks ago, like this is a new technology that might replace the whole effort that you have been doing over the past year to get together things in order to have an expected outcome. And first thought that I had was, wow, all the work that I have been done is going to be just pulled into a trash can, And, first resistance is, okay, ego goes first. It's always thinking about, no, but I did this. Why are you taking away this thing that I did? To be honest, if you are hired by a company, the one that is winning is your company, not you get your paycheck every month, but in order to get your paycheck, you need to give something back, right? It's not yours, it's of the company. So that's one of the things that you could protect. And this second thing is one of the things that made me really sad. As I told you since episode number 1, I'm really in love with this show, Clarkson Farm. It's amazing to see. I was able to go through the whole season now. And one of the things that made me sad on the technological part of it is like they put all this big investment on the best technology that you can have in agriculture. And they even say it like that. It's like, could you imagine that, I don't know how many miles around, they don't have even this technology, that they cannot have it. We are the most advanced farm that there is in the county, or even here in England. It's like, there's always an over-exaggeration there. At the end of the day, last episode of the season, no one matters because they have the right vision. They did the right execution. The technology was implemented the right way, but there was one factor that killed the whole project. Let's put it that way. In that case, was rain. There was not a single drop of water over the period where the plants needed the water. So that just ended up the project. What are you protecting? Why are you making that opposition? Because you don't want to be the one saying, hey, this technology, this implementation, or the execution or your vision, well, it didn't work. Why it didn't work? You don't want to be the one saying that to your boss, maybe your manager, or you name it, your founder. Sorry, but your vision was wrong. You are protecting yourself from being in an awkward situation, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that I am starting to watch the episodes. I can't remember how far I've got, but he has basically gone to the other farm, Seen the
I think I
technology.
gave you some spoilers. Sorry, yes.
No. It's fine. I mean, look, he's gone to the other farm. He's brought home the technology and he's now implemented it on his farm. And you're absolutely right. He's now the most technologically advanced farm in, for miles, right? And that's also privilege and access. It's because he has like a lot of money coming in from Amazon, so he can afford to buy, these massive machines that no other farmer can afford. So he has that competitive advantage. The farm is effectively a loss leader for him. It enables him to do his show and things like that.
Yep.
But the content obviously he generates is the value for him. Now, the farming equipment that he buys is really cool. Like, it's fully automated, and then, he does a lot of analysis work. It's a little bit like what we do when we're building websites and products, right? Is he does a lot of analysis of understanding, the environment and the competitor and kind of like where there's friction, where there's opportunity, and then kind of like mapping that, doing the whole spectrum analysis and figuring out, okay, what's the best way to amplify value in different parts of my farms. And then he obviously then changes how much seed and fertilizer and things like that he puts in these, different parts of his farm according to the data that he's gathered. It is really fascinating stuff. But there is one variable, you're absolutely right, that he doesn't control, and that's the weather. That's the rain. I mean, you started the question at the start of this podcast. You were like, what's causing you friction right now? And I literally was going to tell you the bloody weather, mate, because it is so hot at the moment in the UK, and it has been. It's unbearable. And for the last few years, like, it feels like it's getting hotter. The summers are hotter. It feels like we're getting 4 proper seasons. Before it just felt like it was just kind of mild and miserable the entire year round. And you might get 1 or 2 days of sunshine, and that's it. But yeah, now it's getting really hot. And yeah, rain doesn't seem to happen as often this time of the year, which is what obviously the farmers have needed in order for their crops to grow. So he can't control the rain. He therefore can't control the moisture in the ground unless he installs some really complex irrigation system in order to provide the water. But I don't even know how that would work in a country like the UK. I'm sure there's some law against watering your own plants or something. It's very much a bureaucrat's dream is this country. So, he can't control those types of things. So the variable there for him is he's getting friction from something that's out of his control and out of his line of sight. All he can do is suffer the consequences of it.
And this is basically what led me to the positive note of this episode, which is why is friction? Why this thing called friction is the thing that allows us to evolve. And I don't know if this is a good opportunity for you to talk us about the thing that your mentor told you.
I would love to share, man. So I had an amazing opportunity earlier this week to speak to someone who offered me some incredible advice. He's worked in our life sciences industry for many years. He's seen it for, many decades. And, the question I asked him is, look, I really want to make changes. I really want to be able to push us forward and innovate. And I appreciate that. Look, we can't do anything that will be of detriment to patient safety, patient consent. It cannot detriment the trust that we build in the communities that we serve. But it feels so slow in our industry to make change and to enact change. Obviously, for the right reasons. The worst thing that can happen in our industry is we could, very much hurt somebody, very badly.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a lot of control mechanisms and systems in place to protect that. But an organization like, a huge life sciences company, he said to me, is basically like a giant ship. He said it's a massive vessel on the ocean, and it's full of, so many different people, so many different systems. And it's very difficult to steer that ship. It's very difficult to get it to move in the direction that you want it to. When you've got a huge ship full of lots of people, a lot of people depending on you, there's a lot of money involved, a lot of investment, a lot of history there, a lot of shareholder value. But what he did say is, what you should do is kick off a couple of fast boats. He said, if you're the type of person that wants to move quickly and change the company, change the industry, and that change, be that visionary, be that leader, kick off a couple of fast boats in your company. Just jump on a fast boat and effectively sail away as fast as you can, but still on the same trajectory as the business. And that way, when people will see you on the fast boat, they'll be interested in what you're doing. They'll want to see what you're doing. They'll see that you're moving quickly, that you're enacting change. And then through that, you will either do one of two things. You will either get people to join you on the fast boat, or you will inspire other people to do their own. And so for me, looking forward, because, we all have to have an outlook on our career and where things are going and how we want to grow in our positions. I do believe that that's the right advice to give, is to do a fast boat, but to do it in a compliant and sensible way.
I love the fast boat analogy. Sorry, I'm going to steal it as one of the...
Please go ahead and steal it, mate. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that I want to share with people. I don't want to hold on to it.
I want to share two things that I already steal from this week. I was with some of the leadership members here in Mexico from the company that we work with. And here I was telling him like, oh, it's hard, like, just like opposition on one side, adopting technology on the other side. We cannot just catch up with everything that is going on out there on a really good phase. And he told me, well, it's like this. Could you imagine it like this? And thank you for this analogy. Imagine that you go to the doctor and they'll tell you, well, we need to cut your finger. And you are like, okay, well, if it's going to allow me to be alive and have a good life, well, cut it. It's okay. Take it off. No, wait. We need to wait because we need to do more studies and we need to do some preparations. Okay. When is going to happen? I don't know. I will let you know. But be sure that we need to cut your finger. And then you go and you wait 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So one of the insights that I got from that conversation was, could you imagine how people is feeling right now when they hear on each media outlet that there is this promise of a brighter future drove by a technological shift, by a lot of the speedboats going out there, the fastest boats that they can find going into a single direction. But you are just waiting, and you just need to wait. And we will give you an answer soon. So that waiting is the thing that can give you like really anxious on that topic. So, but I did realize suddenly that, okay, that couldn't be the only point of view on this. And this is the second thing that I'm going to steal. And this came from one of my team members. One of the greatest part to work with in a big company like the one that we work, just life science, but we also have this mix of cultures. People, you and I right here, Manchester to Mexico, right? In this case, I want to say Japan to Mexico. And she told me this amazing insight. And I told her, what do you think about all the changes that our team is going through? Well, for me, it's quite simple, she told me. Just point me in the right direction of the capabilities that I need to acquire and tell me how my role is going to evolve. That's simple. And I was like, freeze. That's the best oversimplification that I have heard of not putting opposition. Just tell me in which direction do I need to evolve in order to keep growing. No noise, no bad comments about changes. And now the responsibility, hey, by the way, you have a higher position than me. So if you cannot answer that question, it's like you are not asking the right question as a manager, How do you think about those insights?
That's incredible, man. No, bad mouthing the situation, no questioning the situation in a negative light, no friction against the situation.
Yes.
I think is the main thing. Is just embracing the situation. That's real leadership, is being in that position where you can ask those questions so politely and so simply. Being able to boil down complex arguments and complex ideas into the most simplest ways is a task, an ability that you really have to develop over time, because things are so complicated. Things are so complex, right? Systems are complex, people are complex, companies are complex, machines are complex. There was one thing in there, though, that did interest me a little bit, because, you're obviously working with lots of different people like I am across the organization, you are also working in different time zones. You're accommodating different people. You're making yourself available to different people. How are you managing your time right now?
I'm trying to ignore all the things and just focus on the important parts. No, just kidding. No. To be real, is something similar that the thing that I just said. Have the chance to see what is a priority now, what could be a problem in the future is one of the things that I think the most. Is if I don't reply to this thing right now, it's going to be a problem. It could wait. On the other person perspective, that might be the most important thing that they are doing, but if you don't give the right signal to the right people, like this is a high priority, we need to attend it right now, there is bad consequences. If you are not communicating that, there is no way for me to know that is a big priority.
Yes.
Right. So that's my key. That's my key right now. That's how I accommodate times.
Effectively, you're creating empathy in the situation, and you're trying to understand the empathy in the situation is how am I time management skills and time management of my priorities going to affect other people? How is it going to affect their priorities? How is it going to affect the things that they're working on? Where can I remove friction in their work life? Am I actually going to create friction by sitting on this task and not getting on with this thing, right?
Yep.
You're being a great human being, effectively, and a great co-worker. You're trying to be a colleague, right?
Oh, I'm going to take you there. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is the perfect time to bring this story to the table. I want to tell you people something about us. When I started at the company, my second interaction after meeting with my manager was talking to us, and we have this problem around video tracking. So first day, it was my laptop was just turning on. That I didn't even have any of the courses that you used to have. This is how the company work. This is our name, our products, nothing. It's just go to your desk and start working. I met this guy called As over an email, and I saw this interchange of emails, and he says, "Welcome to the company. We have this issue." I don't know if you remember. I remember it clearly. And then I created a big requirement. This is how I think it needs to be solved. And if you have the opportunity to work with us in the past, you know that he's one of the greatest guys that always has the right. I don't know if in the inside he's dying or rotting, but on the outside he's always smiling. He always has a good face, a good opinion. Is really open. And he told me, this is a problem that we have for the past almost a year, 6 months. I don't remember the exact dates. This is the first time that I'm hearing a solution. Thank you so much. Your explanation was really clear. We know what to do next. It sounds like a solution for me. And that comment from you to my manager was like, are you telling me that we have finally an Ask Whisperer that can't understand everything that Ask is that can communicate to that level? And thank you, As, for that. You were one of the persons that give me a great welcome into the company, but also make me feel like I have a voice. I have something there that I can contribute with, and thank you for that. Great guy to work with. Great human too.
Oh, mate. I wasn't sure where you were going to go with that. I thought maybe like I said a funny joke to you or something and you were going to repeat it. I think I remember the video tracking issue. Yeah, I do remember that. But that's it, man. Like, you came in with a great attitude and lots of expertise and experience that we needed. And you were able to get into the problem, get into the detail, provide a solution, and, give it up to the team. You did it wholeheartedly. You didn't have much context, much background, but you're obviously able to just see through the weeds and kind of get on with it. And by doing that, you created value for us straight away. You contributed to the program and you removed the friction immediately. Now, it takes a certain type of person to do that, to be able to walk into a company, whether you have the confidence or not, to at least be able to kind of sit down and figure out who to work with, who to speak to, who to empathize with. How do my skills and experiences How do they fit into the team? How can I complement the people that are within the team? Like that takes skill and that takes time to be able to do that. And obviously you came in and you've been a massive input and a massive support and a massive leader across the programs and the websites that you work on. But it takes expertise and it takes people, it takes knowledge to do that. And we're very grateful and thankful to, be all in a position where we can work on these things together and actually do it in a very friendly way, to actually do it in a way where we can be friendly about it, we can be friends, we can be human actors within the organization with each other. When you kind of speak to some of the senior leadership and, people in, other positions of power outside of the company, a lot of where this is going now is we want to move towards a future where the human actors are going to be less involved. We're going to depend more on agency. When I talk about agency, I mean AI running under instruction from people, running under agency. We're going to be depending more on autonomous agents, on autonomous AI. AI will be not just co-creating, co-designing, co-building. It will be creating. It will be designing. It will be building. It might even be planning. It might even be thinking on its own terms of where are the priorities? What should we be building? What should we be making? Where do we actually see the company going? And this is the scary part, because we all have to live in this new world, in this new future, where we are going to be potentially a second-class citizen in our organizations to the AIs, to the machines. And people are wanting this. People want this to happen. People think that AI is here to save money, to save manpower. If there is a position out there where it's too risky for a human being to be in the job, and there is an option to send a machine out, or to send a robot, or to send an AI, I think that should be championed, and I think that should be what we invest our money in. But if there are jobs where human actors create the empathy, create the connection, create the relationship within the organization, connect the company to the patients, to the caregivers, to the physicians, to the users, to the customers, then those are the positions that we don't want to let go. Those are the positions that we need to fight to keep. Those are the positions that we need to do what we can in the positions that we are in to ensure that those jobs don't go away.
It's like, could you imagine a world where you have a disease, you go to a hospital, and then that moment when no one can goes to visit, you want to see a human face? You don't want to see an AI robot going into your room. It's like human contact, human communication, and even inside companies needs to be there. It's like there are some times in the future that it's hard. They're not going to change. Like that is what makes us human, right? The moment that we start redefining even that, it's okay. We are going to be around to do it. We went ahead with the last part of the conversation that we want to have today, which was, when did you decide the future should ask for your permission? But you just frame it exactly like it has to be. Like, no, future is happening. Are you on it or not? Is not going to wait for you. You want to be part of the conversation? Okay, let's do a game, and maybe you are going to do it again in 10 years or 5 years, and maybe you are going to do it your whole life. Let's do a mind shift. Let's learn from your parents that they already went through this. They know what COVID does feel to go into a world without internet. I don't know if this happens in your house, but when we used to have a wired line at home, you don't want to miss any of the calls that you receive. You jump from your bed and you go straight and through your whole house, and you need to answer that phone call, because you know that behind that phone call there was money from the other people, that because it was really expensive to do a call. There were emergencies because it was polite, it was rude to may just call you because receive the amount of notifications that we have. There was one part of time where it was rude to get disturbed like that over time. So are we ready to prepare the audience for the next episode? What do you think? We are going to talk about
I think we're ready for the future because the future's already arrived.
Yes, we are ready. So this was the friction part of the friction part of the conversation. Now we're going into the optimistic side of things. What's going on? What's going to happen in the future? We are waiting to have that conversation in the next episode.
So every generation reaches a moment where the future kind of stops being an idea and a vision, and it stops kind of being one of those things that we look forward to or that we can see coming. The future in this case, I think, is a decision. And I think the decision for us has arrived. And really speaking, what we need to figure out is, where do we go from here?
Welcome, Jester Machine Actor, Manchester to Mexico. Circuitry in the soul. Initialize the vision.